General Hospital spoilers suggest that GH viewers believe that there is something strange in the behavior of Brando Corbin around Sonny Corinthos. GH fans know that Brando seems a fairly discreet individual, but the way he wanders around Sonny is embarrassing. Brando's expression is not only gratitude, it is abject submission. Now some GH fans are theorizing that Brando may be intentionally engaged in an attempt to gain Sonny's trust. Things have changed in Port Charles's head. GH viewers may recall that Brando hasn't always been so sweet to Sonny. There was a time when GH fans knew that Brando wanted nothing more than to beat an exit from Port Charles and return immediately to Chicago. Everyone knows that Brando expressed his extreme dissatisfaction and frustration with the idea that Sonny kept him handy. As Brando later told Sonny, he resented the fact that staying or going was not his choice. Many GH fans may not be able to blame Brando for that. Who likes to have free will taken away? Basically, Sonny was taking Brando prisoner in a guided cage. Oh sure, Sonny has mitigated the negative aspects of his requests. He tried to make the time from Brando to Port Charles pleasant and perhaps a little profitable. Sonny was not a complete idiot for Brando. In fact, some may argue that Sonny was overly kind when he gave Brando a garage from which he could work and build a business. Also, some may argue that Sonny felt he was indebted to Brando for the fact that Brando had taken a bullet for Sonny's wife. Some have to wonder if Brando's life in Chicago was not so great. Although Brando complained that he had to stay in Port Charles the moment Sonny let him know that he is free to return to his previous life, Brando refuses it. Now, this in itself is a bit suspicious, and some may argue that Brando's wrong explanation was exactly that, an invented excuse to stay in Port Charles. Is Brando's or to repair business really going so well financially? Didn't Brando just get Molly Lansing Davis, Haley Pullo's cold shoulder, and then read Sam McCall's act of revolt? Some believe that Brando must have an additional reason for wanting to stay in Port Charles. Also, the way Brando sucked Sonny didn't seem completely grateful for one man to another. No, some might argue that Brando was putting it on a little more than a little thick, and although Brando seems like the real deal most of the time, they now wonder when Sonny BS the meter will begin to beep like crazy. Some GH fans may agree that while Brando didn't emit a lot of disturbing vibes, there were times when things just seemed off. Viewers may recall that Brando has already been curious about Sonny's activities previously. He has been seen occasionally asking one or two seemingly innocent questions but investigating Sonny's activity. Also, there had been a time when Brando had actually gone to have a coffee with Sonny in his kitchen. During Brando's conversation with Sonny, he offered to help Sonny in any way he could create a situation that would allow him to return to Chicago. What happens next to the General Hospital? Of course, Brando may not be interested in Chicago in one way or another. His words and efforts may simply have been designed to convince Sonny to drop his guard and bring Brando into his organization. There are now 180 of Brando in returning to Chicago and his desire to stay and explore options in Port Charles. It's all a bit suspicious if Brando is nothing but a mechanic. On the other hand, if Brando is playing a part and his real goals are either to gather information about the organization of Sonny or Sonny himself, some GH fans might agree that his behavior is starting to give a little more sensible sense.